Hello, denizens of the internet. Your former network executive reaction to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, not to be confused with its predecessor, Into the Spider-Verse, or part 2 of Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse. I get what they're doing here, but it's really hard to keep all this stuff straight. We accidentally bought the DVD Shanghai Nights thinking it was Shanghai Noon. Had no idea there was a sequel. Put the damn thing on and Shanghai Nights was beyond dreadful. One of the worst sequels in the history of sequels, coming off a charmingly entertaining first film. So, if we were confused by that, think of how confused people will be with all this Spider-Verse stuff. And not just confusion between movies, but in the damn movie itself. Warning, there will be spoilers. But this is a late review. So if you haven't seen the movie, you're either not going to bother or you've already committed to waiting to see it on streaming. I know there has been a ton of praise heaped onto Across the Spider-Verse, and the box office certainly bears out its popularity. But this is a better theme park ride than it is a film. But you do get your money's worth, as there are several movies in one here. There's the Gwen-verse, the Miles-verse, the Miguel-verse, the Pavitra-verse, and the alternate Miles-verse. It's similar to those old comedy sketch movies like Airplane, where they write a bunch of sketches and try to find ways to logically bridge them. That isn't to say that it's a bad way to make a movie. That's not my complaint at all. In fact, the Gwen-verse, a bit of the romance parts from Miles-verse, and ending with the alternate Miles-verse would have been a fine movie, even though the Gwen-verse was the more superfluous. I actually found it more entertaining than the Miles-verse. The Miguel-verse was tedious, and I just did not buy the idea of all those spider people policing alternate timelines. In many ways, it was very Green Lantern. In Green Lantern, policing the galaxy was their thing. It's a police force, this accidental assemblage of spider folk, as multi-dimensional cops didn't feel very Spider-Man. More Warner Brothers Animaniacs. One of the things that really bugs me about superhero movies in general is that they have abandoned their alter egos. It's all soups all the time. Thor was Dr. Blake, a dude with a pronounced limp. Superman's Clark Kent has been missing in action. Bruce Wayne isn't doing much of anything. Tony Stark sleeps in that damn Iron Man suit. And of course, Bruce Banner. The fun of the old comics was anticipating when their alter egos would be engaged. No one wants anticipation anymore. No one has any patience. Certainly the writers of these movies have no idea how to properly use these alter egos. And of course, Spider-Man as Peter Parker, possibly the most entertaining duality of all comicdom, and to give the writers and producers of ASV credit, quite a bit of time is spent with the uncostumed Miles Morales. The problem is that, as compared to the first movie, I didn't really care about Miles's uncostumed predicaments. I didn't care about the school meeting. I didn't care about the party for his father. The interactions with his mother were just okay. It started to heat up once Gwen and Miles hooked up. The movie worked much better when the two of them were together. Perhaps because, well, Gwen is just a more intriguing character to me. Miles, for all the stuff about him being a junior physicist and smarty-head, never demonstrates those smarts in the same way Peter Parker did. Oh, right, because he's not Peter Parker. But they want us to believe that echoes of the real Spider-Man are there somehow in Miles. Frankly, I'm happy to have Gwen being the smart one. I like the story of Spot, a very interesting supervillain who grows over time, starts off benign but gets more evil and powerful as the movie progresses. I thought that was very well done. The notion that Miles was bitten by an alternate dimension spider was a neat plot twist. The bizarre and silly mechanical interdimensional spider thread teleporter stitcher machine was a ridiculous MacGuffin, but I'll accept that over the incomprehensible chase sequence up some tube into space between Miles and Miguel. I only saw the movie once. I'm sure I missed some important dialogue explaining this, but while it was animated into a hyperbolic frenzy, it left me and, frankly, the audience completely cold. I know this was supposed to be a set piece, but it was just plain dumb. That being said, the final alternate Miles verse set up a very intriguing conclusion, although they probably could have put both movies into this one. We know Spot is going after Miles' dad, but Miles was never meant to be a spider person in the first place. It all ends with Gwen assembling the wonderful cast of spider misfits from the first movie. This is the kind of film that you need to watch again, frame by frame, to catch the hundreds of Easter eggs and callbacks to other Spider-Man movies. I'm sure someone will catalog them. This all sounds like I hated the movie. I didn't. But like the audience that I watched it with, I felt bludgeoned by the animation. As absolutely, unquestionably brilliant as it was at times, we were all so exhausted that not a single person clapped at the end, which I thought was weird. I was seriously bored about halfway through. Those of us who liked the first movie were really happy to see the old gang at the end, but we had no neurons to spare to engage our clapping muscles or vocal cords. I think ASV could be categorized under too much of a good thing. Hell, people clapped at the end of The Little Mermaid, but that could have been because it was finally over. All kidding aside, there is a much better film buried in here, and I think the producers were just too enamored by the feast of animated pyrotechnics they had assembled. But you can shag only so many times in one night before you're chafed and sore. Maybe that will be the title of this video. Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, Chafed and Sore. We shall see, won't we? Will I see this movie again? Yeah, probably. On TV. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.